Yeah, hi. So today I'm going to talk about threat modeling frameworks for a web application. So this is our first video. We are going to talk about threat modeling. So what is it, and when it happens, and why it happens. Okay. So threat modeling is basically a phase within the SDLC process. I mean, software development lifecycle process. I think most of you are aware of that SDLC, Agile, waterfall, so those kind of software development models. So considering that, so like we are going to perform like a kind of design review. Actually, that modeling is basically a design review. So we are going to review our architecture or design of a system. Okay. So that we can able to identify the vulnerabilities, I mean the possible vulnerabilities, what are the weaknesses, so before it is moving into actual development or testing phase. Okay. So this is basically a design review. So for this video I took an example of a framework called TARA is a framework which is basically used in automobile industries, mostly automobile industries. But we it is very much effective if we use it in web application. I know most of the companies, uh, I mean most of the product companies or service based companies, so they perform threat modeling for their own product, or they perform threat modeling for their clients using a standardized framework called Stride. Okay, Stride framework is most common, and there is a Microsoft framework called Dread, so that is also more common. But I have recently attended one of the webinars. Okay, in that webinar, I came across this one. Specifically, this one is called a TARA. Okay, it's called the Threat Agent Risk Assessment Framework. Okay, so this framework is prevalent in automobile. It is not prevalent in web application threat modeling. So especially if when it comes to automobile, we can apply all these things like from the scope, threat agent identification, asset identification, attack vector mapping, okay, or security controls assessments, okay. So risk prioritization, okay, risk mitigation strategies. So what are the further action plan? So this is very much elaborate. Actually, this is very much elaborate. So this kind of template I kind of created on my own with the help of ChatGPT. I mean, the formatting of this template is not very much perfect as you expect, but still we can learn things using this. Okay. So imagine this is the sample template we have created. Okay, like it is kind of a report, threat modeling final report for a web application. Okay, so what it says, so the first section of threat modeling report is the executive summary. Okay, so here we can just mention the web application name or a product name. Okay, so we just mention the regular wordings like so using this process we identified this kind of threats, we have mapped this attack, we have found out these patterns, we have evaluated the risks and the controls. So all those things we can made it, I mean we can mention in the executive summary. And the scope, so scope specifically talks about like what we are, it is similar to pen testing. So if you have done pen testing before, you will know what is the scope. So scope is basically what is the application you are going to test. Same like that like yeah, the application, the web application you are going to perform the threat modeling. So it is a production or a development or testing environment, who are other stakeholders involved, so when it is going to happen, so all those stuff. Okay, so these stuffs are just mandatory if you are going to produce this report to a management like a directors or a CISO or a CTO or anyone if you're going to give. Okay, so this is the threat agent identification. So threat agent identification. Okay, so we are basically having the five columns mentioned here. Okay, the five column, the threat agent, who's the threat agent, what are their motivations, and what are the capabilities, what are their goals and risk level. So I don't mind this kind of a clumsy formatting, but just we can focus on the stuff like within the template. I mean, like a threat agent. So the first threat agent is like external hackers. Okay, so what is the motivation? Financial gain. Okay, so what are their capabilities? What they can do? So we can see capabilities. They can still use the data and disturb the services. Basically, the risk level is high. So we can, these are external hackers. Again, we can go for insider threats. Okay, insider threat is basically the employee. So any of the internal employee who did not like the employer, he just want to sabotage the company's reputation or a company's financial what is it, the financial things, or by getting some financial benefits, he's doing the bad stuff on behalf of someone. Okay, so these are basically the insider threat. Okay, so what he can do, basically the risk is high. So I have mentioned the risk is medium, but the risk is actually higher. Actually, the reason is like the insider has a more access, high privileged access. He can access to the network, he can access to the internal systems and all those things. The security is not tightened much. Okay, so what he can do, he can do damage, he can do sabotage. Okay, all those things, we can manipulate the data. uh, so all those things. And what the skiddies, script kiddies. Okay, so their capabilities are low. Okay, they can do the DDoS stuff from their web app. That's what the script kiddies. So they try out like stuff on your website, corporate websites, and their corporate competitors. Okay, so they can try to steal sensitive information, the nation state actors or adversaries. So these adversaries, the same, their risk is very high. That is one of the main reason we are having cybersecurity team to protect from the adversaries. Okay, so service disruption. So this is one of the very important component of threat agent identification. So mostly you won't see this in most of the threat modeling session, especially when it comes to strike. Okay, so that is one of the motivation for me to pick up this TA or A. Okay, so this is another system, asset identification. So we have to identify the assets. Okay, especially when it comes to the web applications. Okay, so within the web applications, what we are going to protect. Okay, where the web application is hosted. So what and all the basically the stuff we are going to protect from the hacker. Okay, so the first thing is the user data. Okay, the user data, anything the personal information or payment information or payment card information, credit cards, the company's financial information, so all these things. So the authentication mechanism, yeah, of course the username and passwords for the web application or a network. So here we are talking about the web app, so we can say this one is about the web application credentials or API keys, all those things, the API endpoints. Yeah, so most people say API endpoints are not that critical because they are not what I would say. So they are not they are not kind of a data storage or a they are not like a database or something to reveal some information. But API endpoints are very much important asset. Okay, especially we have to implement proper authentication to authorization. Okay, so API endpoints are one of the important assets which needs to be protected and properly documented. Okay, so database is an asset. Yeah, these API endpoints may interact with the database servers and fetch the information. So, but still, database is asset on its own. Okay, and the application source code or code base. So you kind of have to protect your application code base wherever it resides. Okay, if it is in what I would say, if it is in a cloud or if it is hosted somewhere in on-premise servers, in case of a legacy application, if we say, okay, so your source code needs to be protected at any cost. Okay, so these are basically the critical assets. So the severities I have just mentioned, it is for a what I would say, it is for example, but you can make your own severity on your own, okay, on importance or severity, whatever you call. So we can go for next section now. Attack vector mapping. Okay, so we have identified assets. We have identified the threat agents. Okay, so what these threat agents can do to these assets in order to uh, get their goal achieved. For example, so these are the basic, some of the basic vulnerabilities or some of the basic attacks from the external users can do. External actors. Okay, so internally, what they can do. Okay, internally, people can steal the source code. People can steal the credentials. People can steal a credit card or a debit card information. All those financial stuff. Yeah, external external people abuse the APIs. Okay, so they can abuse the APIs to reveal a lot of the information which needs to be protected. Okay, so yeah, credential stuffing. So all those things. So this is kind of a discussion. The security engineer or security consultant have to do with the DevOps engineer, developers. Okay, so whoever is the part of the stakeholder team. So here we can add what and all the controls, possible controls uh, currently exist, and the what and all the controls which we are lacking. So these both are very very important. So having proper controls is very much important. So as they can deal with most of these attacks from the external and the uh, internal hackers. Okay, so we can say WAF, we can say MFA, so all those things. So these are security controls and assessments. Okay, which can block most of the stuff. Again, we are doing the penetration testing, so which can, what I would say, the penetration testing can reveal a lot of vulnerabilities. Okay, a lot of vulnerabilities, especially if we talk about pen testing specific to web apps, APIs, and different layers, okay, databases, etc. Okay, yeah, everything we can see, logging, monitoring, everything. So we can just apply all the security best practices here from the. If you're familiar with the OWASP, you can kind of create this Tara framework and integrate with OWASP, so which is very very much useful. Okay, security controls we have, and we have the risk prioritization. We have to prioritize the risk, which is very much important, and the mitigation strategies. So as we already seen mitigation strategies, it is similar to security control assessment. So the difference is the control assessment is basically kind of tells about what are the controls we have, what are the controls we don't have. Okay, and this one risk mitigation strategy. So how we are going to mitigate each and every risk. Okay, so this is the conclusion. So this framework is very much efficient. If the most of the companies are using it for cyber security assessments, especially in automobile industries. But uh, I am an application security engineer. I am a web app pen tester, and I am a red teamer. So I want to use it and apply to the web app and see how much effective is it. So we can kind of integrate this one with the Stride model to achieve more coverage. Okay, so this is the threat modeling report. Okay, implement the plan of action, schedule the follow up, continuously monitor. Okay, so that is how the threat modeling works, if especially if we apply TA or a threat modeling framework. Okay, so if you have any questions or doubt, if you have anything to ask, just let me know. Thank you.